Hi guys, this is Aslam Khan here to teach you 7707 paper code Cambridge O-Level Accounting October-November past paper. I have already taught May June 7707 paper. Please go and watch my other video which I have already explained you 7707 May June paper. If you have anything on that video, you can comment on the comment section. And also in this video, if you find anything difficult to understand, please comment on the comment section so I'll be able to help you in future. With that knowledge, do not forget to subscribe my channel guys. It will help you and also help me in growing together. And also remember guys, when you are subscribing my channel, please hit the bell button because it will bring a lot of benefits for you, because I will notify any videos which will be uploaded in future with the YouTube channel. Well, let's start guys. Cambridge O-Level Accounting 7707 paper, October-November. First question, a trader prepares financial statement each year. So you need to have a past paper with you when you're doing this, and you need to go one by one whenever I read along with me. So you will be able to get it easier, and it will be always helpful for you to score better. A trader prepares financial statement each year. What do this assist the trader to do? Calculate the amount owing to credit suppliers, calculate the cash drawings, check the bank statement balance, make decisions about the future. Now, what he is preparing, the trader is preparing, you need to understand guys, what he is preparing? He is preparing financial statement. Why do a trader, why do a person need to prepare a financial statement? The number one, it's not to know how much money you give to credit suppliers. It's not amount how much you are taking from cash. It's not to check the bank statement balance. Then what is the main decision? To take decisions about the future of the company, you need to check you need to do a financial statement. Financial statement comprises of two parts, as you know. One is balance sheet, other one is income statement. So these are done only for the purpose of seeing that the decisions what the business is taking is good for the business or not in future. So let's move on to the next part. It's an easy one. So first one done. First one first one is a D answer. With the knowledge, let's move on to the next part. Second question, what is not an example of bookkeeping entry? Okay, so I'm going to explain you what is bookkeeping entry. Bookkeeping entry means guys, it is a day-to-day recording of transactions. So most probably a bookkeeper will not prepare financial statement. This is the basic thing you need to know when you're doing MCQ. A bookkeeper will never do financial statement. He will always record the basic transactions. Let me see what is basic transaction here and exclude the transaction which is not basic, which is not done by the bookkeeper. So here, what is not an example of bookkeeping entry? An entry made in the bank column of the cash book for a check received, cost of goods purchased on credit entered in supplier's account, expenses paid during the year entered in the income statement, goods returned by customer entered in the sales return journal. Now, if you see here, first one, I just check it is in bank column. He's just checking with the cash book and seeing that is the check has been received or not. He is just comparing he is taking the goods of purchase on credit and entering it in the supplier's account. But the third one is a bit tricky. Expenses paid during the year entered in income statement. As I said, a bookkeeper will never record things on the income statement or balance sheet because it's a part of financial statement. So answer is C, because they're asking not an example of bookkeeping entry. And D, again, good return by customer entered in sales return journal. So it's also a basic transaction which she has done. It's a day-to-day transaction, so we can't consider it as a bookkeeping. We can consider it as a bookkeeping entry. So we should consider what is not coming under bookkeeping entry. So let's move on to the third one. So second one answer is C. With that knowledge, we'll move on to the third one. The following balances appeared in Hussein's books, right? Fixtures 6,000, inventory 3,300, trade receivables 3,000, trade payables 4,500, other receivables 500, other payables 300, loan to Imran 1,000, bank overdraft 1,400. Now it's very easy. What was the total of the liabilities? So when you find out, guys, you need to know what is asset, capital, liability. These are explained on my other playlist for another syllabus I have taught. If you have time, go and watch the other playlist where I have taught under chapter number 4. I have explained what is accounting, the basic accounting. You need to know this when you are doing accounts, guys. So here I have given you fixtures, inventory, trade receivables. Fixtures is a non-current asset, inventory is a current asset, trade receivable is a current asset, trade payable is also it's a current liability, other receivable is a current asset, other payable is a current liability, loan to Imran, a bit. I will not take loan to Imran because they are not considered. They are given a loan from the business, but it might be a personal loan, so we can't take it as a business loan. And bank overdraft 1,400. So I'm going to calculate how much is my liability first of all. Trade payables, Trade payables 4,500. So do with me guys when you're doing the sum. And other payables 300. And bank overdraft, bank OD 1,200. So when you add 4,500 plus 300, 4,800 plus 1,400 will give you 6,200. So the answer should be 6,200. Let's check is the answer 6,200. So answer is B. Okay, so answer is B, guys. So we are done with answer B. It's very straightforward question. I'll move on to the next part, fourth one. So let's move on to fourth question, guys. What does the owner's equity consist of? So what does an owner equity is representing? Actually, that's what they're asking. The amount of money in the business bank account, that's the actual business money which the business has kept. The amount owed by the business to the owner, the total of the assets owned by the business, the total of current asset less current liabilities. Remember guys, D answer D, I mean the answer D is saying current asset minus current liability. That is working capital. That is about, we said as CA minus CL is working capital. That's the money a business will have even after paying current liabilities. That's not owner's equity. See the total of the assets owned by the business. When the business owns some asset, it can be current asset or non-current asset. What business owns is actually not the money which is representing owner's equity. Then what do you need to do? You need to know the definition. The amount owed by the business to the owner, because when an owner invests the money into the business, someday the business should give the money to the owner. So this is a basic understanding you need to have. Like the business should give the money to the owner, which means it is the owner's equity. Then we have A, the amount of money in the business bank account, it's business bank account, so you can't consider that as a considerable point of owner's equity. So moving with that knowledge, for the fifth one we have which entries did Sally make to record the following transaction? Rashid, a credit customer, returned damaged goods. Okay, now let me move on to my whiteboard, guys. It will be a bit helpful. Okay. Now the question is, guys, before I move on to whiteboard, I just want to know Rashid, Sally is making some sort of record. Rashid is a credit customer returning damaged goods. Account to be debited and account to be credited. Let's start how to. So actually, Rashid is a credit customer, is returning the goods towards Sally, but we need to see which entries did Sally make in record. So let me move on to whiteboard, guys. Okay, now can you see a whiteboard? I hope you can see a whiteboard. So I'm gonna draw Rashid, but I'm not a good person, good drawing artist, but I'll draw something. Well, let me think this as Rashid, okay? And I'm gonna draw another person. Let me draw another person. I'll consider this as Sally. Okay. So now Rashid is a credit customer returning the goods to Sally. Okay, so he's returning the goods. Let me take goods return. So you need to draw this, guys, when you're doing this. This is the easy way to find out what's the actual double entry, goods return. So now they're asking from Sally's book side. If you see from the Sally's book side, the good is being returned. So Sally should consider it as return inward. So return inward is an expense. So expense account will become debit. That's the basic thing you need to know. What account will become credited? Rashid is returning the account. So he's a credit customer. Credit customer means he's a debtor. So you have a debit account, but actually when he's returning the good, his debit account will be credited on the credit side. So your actual double entry for this will be, let me move on to the question again. Sales return account debit, or we can say return inward account debit, Rashid account credit. You can revise the video and see if my explanation is a bit too fast. Revise it again, learn twice, thrice, 4 times, no problem. But learn it properly, guys. Do mistakes, but no problem. Learn it, okay? So let's move on to that. So answer is C. Okay, moving on to the sixth one. Moving on to the sixth part. The following account appeared in the books of Mary. So let me see. In Mary's account, there's a person called Paul. So Paul is maintaining. Let me see. First of all, when I see from Mary's book side, you need to consider yourself as Mary in exams. Now Paul is I should find is a credit supplier or credit customer. I have made a sales on the debit side, so which means he's a credit customer. In exam, if they have given Paul account purchase on the credit side, it's credit supplier. If the Paul account represents sales on the debit side, it is credit customer. That's how you find out it's a credit customer or credit supplier. That's what you need to know when it comes to Paul account. Now here balance bought for 90, 150, returns 25, 88, 2, discount and balance carried down 125. Now you need to understand Paul is owing Mary actually because Paul is a credit customer. Whatever the amount Paul is going to owe Mary is true. Whatever amount Mary is going to give Paul, it's wrong. Okay. Let's start. Which statement is correct? On 1st April to Paul owed Mary 90. True, because Paul needs to give this 90 towards Mary. So the answer is correct. So answer A is completely correct. On B, they have said on 14th April, Paul sold goods to 150 to Mary. Again, Mary is selling the goods to Paul, not Paul is selling goods to Mary. So that's wrong. Okay. Then third one, on 21st April, Mary returned goods to 25 to Paul. Again, this is Paul's amount who is returning. So Paul is returning, not Mary. That's wrong. On 30th April, Mary owed Paul 125. As I said, Mary is not the credit customer. Paul is the credit customer. So Paul is owing Mary, not Mary owing Paul. So answer is A, which we found now. Moving on to the seventh part. In which sections of Zamir's ledger will the following accounts be maintained? Okay, they are saying that number one, it's sales account. Number two, the account of Harjit, a trade receivable. Remember, guys, according to your syllabus, there are three types of ledgers. I'll write here, guys. If you want, you can write it down when you're doing this paper. Number one, we said as sales ledger. Here, you will only maintain debtors control accounts, or we say it as debtors, or you can say credit customers accounts. All your credit customers balances, we will record it under sales ledger. And when it comes to second ledger, you need to know it's purchase ledger. All your trade payables values should be recorded here. We say it as creditors, or we can also say them as credit suppliers, right? So these are the basic things you need to know. And the third thing you need to know, it is nominal ledger. Okay, so I'll explain all these three types of ledger before we move on to the question. So sales ledger is taking up all the debtors in a company. All the people who are credit customers will be recorded under a ledger called sales ledger. Now the question is, don't confuse sales and sales ledger. Sales account is a normal account, so it comes under nominal ledger. Purchase ledger will consist all the creditors and credit suppliers who are purchasing goods on credit. Whomever we have taken the goods on credit will be represented under this journal. So all other bad debt account, electricity account, maintenance account, discount received account, discount allowed account, everything will come under nominal ledger, including the sales and purchase. So purchase account also will come under nominal ledger, but purchase ledger will not have purchase account, it will have creditors account. Again, sales ledger will not have sales account, it will have debtors or credit customers account. Here on the first one, they are saying that now Zamir should be recording these basic things, and he has sales account, so it is nominal, or we say the general ledger, which is B. And account of Harjit, a trade receivable, should be recorded under sales ledger because he's a credit customer. For trade receivable, we can say it as debtors or credit customers. For trade payables, we say it as creditors or credit suppliers. With that knowledge, answer B, we'll move on to 8th part. I'm going to erase this off. Yeah. Sue allows 2% cash discount to credit customers who settle their account within 28 days. Jane purchased goods list price $200 on 10th September. She returned these goods on 15th September. Which entry would Sue make on 15th September? Now, what is the question? Sue is allowing 2% cash discount for whomever the customers purchasing the good and returning the goods within 28 days. But unfortunately, Sue bought on 10th September on list price of 200. So she's getting a $2 discount. What might be the discount? You don't want to calculate this much, guys. It's very straightforward question, but I'm just showing you. In 200, if you find 2%, right? Where's this dollar mark? I don't know where. Okay, 200 into 0.02, or I can say 2 divided by 100 will give me $4, right? So now 200 minus $4, actually the price should be 196. This is the amount he has purchased. But when he is returning, okay, remember when he is returning, he is not getting a cash discount because he is not, now I'm not speaking about, now this is not trade discount, guys, because this is not, you are getting when you are purchasing. This is where when you settle within 28 days, you will get this 4 discount. Now, is he settling first of all? Jane purchased goods this price 200. She returned these goods. So she's not settling the value. She's returning. So when she is returning, she will not return with $196. She will return the amount what she has taken. How much was the value she took? 200. So she will return the same 200 towards Sue. Now on Sue's point of view, who is this person? The credit customer is a trade receivable. So when credit customers return the good, for so it is coming inside the business. So it becomes return inward. So return inward, how much it will come? Sales return journal, also known as return inward. $200 is the list price. Whatever you sold will come back again. You will not give discounts because he has not paid the amount. It is just returning the products towards the business. So knowing with that knowledge, we'll move on to the next part. So answer is D for 8th part. If you do not understand again the explanation, please go and visit again because I might be a bit faster. The reason I need to teach a lot of videos for exams, guys. So let me go a bit faster to teach you more. If you want to learn this again, revise it, learn it. Okay, guys, let's move on. The transaction was posted to wrong account of the same class. Which type of error was made? Commission, original entry, principal, reversal. Very straightforward. If you have posted the correct, now you need to know this definition, guys. There are 6 errors in your books, in your textbook. So one is commission, original, principal, reversal, compensation. What is the next one? Commission, omission. Okay, omission. You have not recorded at all. So omission and compensation they are not given. Compensating errors and omission they are not given. So there are two more errors. You can write omission and compensation. Compensating. Okay, so let me explain to you these 6 errors very quick. First one, it's commission, guys. Commission means what? You are recording the correct amount of value in the wrong class, in the same class, but in the wrong account. Maybe T receivables value has been recorded in T receivable value has been recorded in R receivable, same double entry, everything is correct, but the name is different. So this is error of commission. The answer, the problem also here, the same. A transaction was posted to the wrong account, but on the same class. Class means you need to know. Some people doesn't know the definition of class. Let me explain you. Class means it is having 5 things. Asset is a class, expense is a class, capital is a class, liability is a class, income is a class. So this is what we say class. So if they are recording it in a different account, but in the same class, means within assets itself, within expense itself. That's what they are trying to say. Second second mistake they have given. The error is original entry. Original entry is where you are recording the value, but but at a lower amount. For example, $100 value, you are recording it as 20. Maybe you will record it as undercasted, or you will record more than the amount which should be recorded. That is what we say original entry. Principal is where you are recording the correct double entry, but on the wrong class of account. Do you understand, guys? So asset has been recorded under expense. Maybe a motor vehicle maintenance expense has been recorded as motor vehicle account. So that's wrong. So complete reversal, you record the correct double entry, but in the wrong side. Maybe purchase of cash, purchase of goods worth 5,000 has been recorded. So purchase of goods in cash. So if you have purchased goods in cash, cash account should become credit, purchase account should be debit. Purchase account should be debit. But unfortunately, you put cash account debit and purchase account credit. So this complete reversal will happen. Omission, you forgot to record at all. And compensating is where when you have some interrelations between 2 accounts, you will try to set off this transaction. To know more about these things, errors, I have put on my playlist errors, correction of errors. If you have time, go and watch that. That will be helpful for you. So let's move on to the next part. So answer is error of commission because they are putting the wrong account of the same class, which means I have already explained this part. So answer is 9th A. Let's move on to the 10th part then, guys. 10th, motor vehicle expenses. I'll erase this off. The motor vehicle expenses $50 were incorrectly debited to motor vehicles account. Which journal entry corrects this error? So if you have record the 50 motor vehicle expense to motor vehicle account, what will you do? Let me move on to my Excel sheet, guys, to explain you. Now here you see my Excel sheet. I'm going to write 2 accounts, motor vehicle account, and I'm going to record something else. We said as motor vehicle expense account, right? No, motor vehicle expense account. So unfortunately, this motor vehicle expense account value they have gone and put under motor vehicle account. So let me see what is the amount they have put $50. Okay, so motor vehicle expense account they have gone and put under motor vehicle account. So they have put $50 because it's a debit. Here maybe you would have paid on cash account credit. This would have become debit. So I'm just considering it as cash for my knowledge, guys, not for your knowledge. So I'll write this in red color so you'll know this is the mistake I have done. I need to correct this mistake. What I'm gonna do? Sorry, guys, my letters are a bit. I do some sort of mistake like this. My Excel sheet is super slow. Like me, I think I'm slow. Okay, guys, I think it is okay now. So let's move on to the point. So this is how they have recorded it. Now I want to correct it. What I will do is I will credit this account. So I'm going to credit this account. I will write here 50 saying motor vehicle expense. Okay, narration is not important. Just for you to understand, I'm writing here. And here I will write motor vehicle. I'll write here 50. So now this is what I have done. I made some corrections. So I corrected on my credit side of motor vehicle account. I credited there and I debited on the motor vehicle account to make it correct. So the double entry for this will become motor vehicle account debit 50, and what account will become credit? Sorry, motor vehicle expense account will become debit because I have recorded correctly under correct account. Now it will be motor vehicle account will become credit. Motor vehicle account will become credit. So this is how the double entry should be, guys. Let me move on to the answer and see is there any answer related to this. I hope this is correct. So I have motor vehicle account, motor vehicle expense account debit, and as well as I have motor vehicle account credit on answer number A. So answer number A is the answer for this incorrectly recorded debit entry in under motor vehicles account. It's very straightforward. Okay, so guys, let's move on to the 11th question. Kate calculated her draft profit for the year 28,400. She later discovered the following errors. Rent prepaid by Kate was understated by 1,000. Closing inventory was understated by 1,500. So rent prepayment is understated means you need to again add it back, guys, because they have done it wrong. If they have understated means your profit have actually decreased. So for that you need to add it back, guys. If it is overstated, you need to deduct it. That's how it should be when it comes to draft profits. Here they have understated, which means you have made a payment. They have made a payment, like Kate has made a payment, but it has been reported at a lower rate. So what you do, you add that amount back again because it's a prepayment. It should be excluded. Now you add it back because it's an understatement. Then closing inventory was understated by 1,500. For closing inventory, you need to know how it works. So I'm gonna take you to Excel sheet and show. I had made a a small working to show you guys. Now let me assume that my opening inventory is 1,000, 10,000 and purchase is 200,000. So if I add my cost of sales with purchase, I will get closing inventory. I mean, these are my assumption, guys, to do this sum. So minus 20,000, I got 190,000. This is my assumption, complete assumption. There's no answer like that. So don't find this answer. You will not find these values in your question paper. Again, I'm gonna increase my closing inventory by 1,500. If you see here, earlier it was 20,000, now it is 1,500. So I just want to know what happens to my profit. So if my opening inventory plus purchase increases 210,000, my closing inventory is also increasing by 1,500. My cost of sales will fall down. If my closing inventory is increasing, my cost of sales will decrease. If my cost of sales decrease, my profit will gradually increase. That's what I'm trying to say. So it should, this 1,500 will increase the profit. So I will move on to the content again, and I'm going to explain you. It's going to increase. So what I will do, I will represent this in one set of part. 28,400, 1,000, as I said, it was understood, you should add it back, and 1,500 also you should add it back. So you will get 30,900 as an answer. So answer is D. So we have found this answer. It's very straightforward, guys. Rent prepayments by Kate was understated by $1,000. Closing inventory was understated by 1,500. So I've given you a clear explanation. Let's move on to the 12th one. Okay, it says that a trader's bank statement showed a credit balance of 2,940. So now this is what they are saying. Bank statement showed a credit balance. So normally this will happen only in bank reconciliation. The following items had not been entered in the cash book. So this is not been entered at all. They're not recorded at all. So what was the debit balance in the cash book before it was updated? So now this is bank balance. I need to find the cash balance, but without updating. If I deduct, now this is normally in a cash book, this should come bank interest received, and credit transfer should become a debit entry in under cash book. You should add it. But unfortunately, as you want to go and find it now, this is not updated. So if you are going to update it, if you have updated, you will get this value. But if you don't update this, what is your value? That's what they are trying to ask. So if you are updated, you should add back, add these two values. If you are not, if you are going back to cash book without updating, I will take this value and deduct from 2940. So what I will do, I will take 2940, deduct 70 and deduct 280, which is 350. If I deduct 2940, deduct by 350, I will get 2590. So answer will become A for this. So it's very straightforward one, guys. If you want to know bank reconciliation, again, please learn with my playlist. It will be helpful for you. So let's move on to the next part. Yeah. Question number 13. What is the purpose of preparing a sales ledger control account? Actually, what is your purpose of preparing a sales ledger control account? As I taught you, sales ledger control account is a debtors account. Debtors account means a trade receivable account. What is the good thing of producing this? To identify irrecoverable debts, maybe, and also to make fraud more difficult. This is the exact answer. The reason, if I read this also, to provide the total owed to trade payables is not related to sales ledger control account. It's related to sales purchase, purchase control account. So it will not be a part of this. Show the total cash will not come under again sales ledger control account. So the C and D will not be taken, but considering A and B, you can identify irrecoverable debts, but you can still identify irrecoverable debt in under nominal ledger also. So here actually your main purpose is to make fraud more difficult. So 13th answer is B. Let's move on to George adjustment. George is preparing his purchase ledger control account. Let him prepare his purchase ledger control account. We'll support him to do this in a much better way. So let me ask George. Yeah, George is saying which information would he obtain from his general journal. So as I taught you three type of journals, three type of entries: nominal or general journal, general ledger, nominal ledger, sales ledger, purchase ledger. Now they are not speaking about ledger; they are speaking about general journal. So you are preparing purchase ledger control account. Which information will be helpful from general journal? That's what they are trying to ask. So contra entries with sales ledger. So let me read all four and come to the answer. Goods returned to credit supplier, irrecoverable debts written off, refunds received from credit supplier. I'll come from behind. Refund received from credit supplier will be under purchase ledger control account itself. It will not come under nominal account, nominal ledger or general journal. Irrecoverable debts written off is a sales account transaction. It's not a creditor's transaction, so this is excluded. Again, B, goods returned to credit suppliers. This is all shown under purchase ledger control account. So which is left finally? Contra entries with the sales ledger. So this is the answer, because whatever you are setting off you will in sales account, you will show it under nominal ledger. So answer will become A for this. Okay guys, moving on to 15th one. Trader debited the cost of repairing office equipment to the office equipment account. How did this error affect the financial statement? Very easy guys, do not think much on this question. It's very straightforward. If you are taking your equipment, repairing office equipment is an expense. If you take your expense towards an asset account will increase, which means non-current asset will increase, which means it will be overstated. And if expense is removed, because they are not recording there, they are taking that to the current assets, uncurrent asset, which means it is removed. So profit will become, what happened guys? Profit also will become overstated. The reason they are removing the expense, which means profit will increase, and also they are taking the amount and going and putting on the non-current asset. Because a duplicate value has been added, the non-current assets value also will go up. So 15th answer will become A for this. So it's very straightforward guys. I'm not going to read the next part because that's very straightforward. Let me move on to the next one. If you don't understand, please comment under comments section. So 16th adjustment, we have Rashid provided the following information at 30th December. Machinery at cost is 52,000. Provision for depreciation of machinery is 23,000. So they have given the actual calculation. Now let's see what has happened in this question. Depreciation for the year is calculated 20% on cost. After statement of financial position was prepared, it was found that the machinery repairs costing 2,000 had been debited to machinery account. So they have taken machinery repairs amount and they have recorded to machinery account. Now the question is guys, actually now how much should be the machinery account at cost then? 52,000 minus, because they have recorded wrong, 2,000, which means the cost should be 50,000, right? This should be the cost. Now, how much should be the provisional depreciation? This is the total provisional depreciation, but I can find this year's depreciation. How do I find? I'll take 50,000 actual depreciation and multiply it by 20%. So I'll get actually this is the value which I should get, 10,000. Then I will also calculate the value which was before. Now this is after. Before it was 52,000 into 20 over 100. So I will get how much, guys? Earlier machinery cost was 52,000. 20 over 100 will give me 10,400. Now the value has changed. If you see here, after finding the mistake, we found that we have removed the maintenance cost. After removing the maintenance cost, I found that the depreciation is 10,000. So actually, instead of 10,000, our people have added 10,400 under provision for depreciation. So what is the actual difference between earlier and now? Let me show it again. Earlier depreciation was how much, guys? Earlier depreciation was 10,400. Now depreciation is how much? 10,000. So actual difference between these two depreciation difference is the amount you should exclude from provision for depreciation, which is 400. So I need to remove this off because they have recorded 10,400 higher with the wrong value they have calculated. So what I will do, because they have said in cost, I went with in directly on cost. I will take 23,000, right? And I will deduct the 400 to get my value. So my value will become 22,600, getting me the answer of B. So it's very straightforward, guys. You need to practice a bit more. In May June question also, May June 2020 also, I saw a question like this. So this depreciation is always tested. So be a bit careful. A depreciation adjustment and a disposal adjustment will surely come this time for exam. So you need to practice on that particularly. So let's move on to 17th adjustment now. I'm going to erase this off. Yeah. So let's move. A machine which cost 32,000 was sold for 14,000. Total depreciation at the date of disposal was 15,000. What was the profit or loss on disposal? Whenever you have a question like that, guys, go. You need to draw up a ledger account. So I'll show you how a disposal works. Let me copy this, guys, a bit down so I can explain you it a bit clearly. Okay, so I have copied here. I'll write here disposal account. So this is the basic way you need to do your disposal account. Let's move on to the adjustment now. A machine which cost 32,000 was sold for 14,000. So I'm gonna write, cost will come on the debit side. So I'll write machine. Machine was the cost, had 32,000, was sold for 14,000. So it can be cash or bank. You can consider 14,000. Now, what was my accumulated depreciation? Because I want to know my accumulated depreciation is how much before I transfer it as profit or loss to income statement. My actual amount of profit accumulated depreciation was 15,000, because they're saying the total depreciation at the date of disposal was 15,000. So accumulated depreciation account will become debit and disposal account will become credit. This is a double entry, guys. You need to know when you're doing this adjustment. So provision for depreciation and accumulated for depreciation both are same. So provision for depreciation, it will become 15,000. So actually I will add my 14,000 plus 15,000 will give me a value of actually how much, 29,000. So now I'm gonna take the total value in both sides when I'm doing a ledger account. I'm a bit slow in Excel, guys. Give me some time to learn. I'm not keeping you to learn, guys. I'm good in Excel, but today I'm a bit slow. 32,000 is on the debit side. I'll bring this also to the credit side. So actual difference was 3,000 here. So now this 3,000, is it a profit or loss? That's the basic thing you need to know. If it is in disposal account, if it comes on the credit, in income statement, it should be debited. That's the double entry, which means it is a loss. Okay, so loss income statement. So if it is in the debit side of the disposal account, then it should be in credit side of income statement, because the double entry narration which you write will take towards the income statement. Whatever credit entries will become a plus for income statement. Whatever the debit entries, whatever debit entries under disposal account will become a credit under income statement. Whatever the credit entries under disposal account will become debit under debit under income statement. So that will become a loss. So knowing this understanding, we got 3,000 loss. Let me move on to the question. What was the profit or loss in disposal? it is B 3000 loss. So I hope you understood this. So we'll move on to the next part, guys. Bina maintains a provision for doubtful debt of 3% of the trade receivable at the end of the year. On 30th September 2019, the provision for doubtful debt was 900. On 31st August 2020, the trade receivable amounted to 42,800. Which journal entry did Bina make on August 2020? So this is provision for doubtful debt adjustment, guys. I'm gonna do this in text. I can go to Excel, but I'll do it in text. If you don't understand, in you can comment on the comment section, so I'll be able to help you when I'm doing the next past paper questions. So now here is they are given provision for doubtful debts. These are things you need to underline when you are doing the sum, guys. 3% of the trade receivables, and also they're saying that on 1st September this is opening doubtful debts, which is 900. Now I need to find the closing doubtful debt, because closing doubtful debt is 3% of trade receivables, so which is 42,800, as they are given the closing balance of trade receivables. Let me take 42,800 first of all and find the closing provision for doubtful debt. So we said as provision for doubtful debt, I can say PFDD, provision for doubtful debt. Remember that, guys, so it's easy for me to explain you in each video. So this is just calculation, guys. This is not paper 2. If paper 2 means I need to write the whole thing, but it is paper 1, so I'm going a bit fast on this particular area. So 42,800 was your trade receivable. In that 3% is belonging to closing provision for doubtful debt. So I will calculate into 3 over 100. I will get a value of 1,284. So this is my actual closing provision for doubtful debt. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to compare my closing provision for doubtful debt with my opening to understand have I made under provision or over provision. Now remember, guys, opening provision for doubtful debt. Okay, so if opening provision for doubtful debt is greater, okay, so I'll put a crocodile mouth, guys, is greater than closing provision for doubtful debt, then it is we say it as over provision. Okay, so over provision should be considered as a other income under income statement. Other income under income statement. IS. Now, if closing provision for doubtful debt is higher than opening, how do you say, opening provision for doubtful debt, then it becomes under provision under income statement. Okay, so we can say it as expense. It is an expense under income statement. So we are done with that income statement. IS, I'll put IS, guys. Now in income statement, if you're taking as an expense, it should be a debit under income statement and credit under provision for doubtful debt account. If you're taking it as other income on income statement, it should be a credit under other income statement, and provision for doubtful debt account, it should be a debit actually. So now I'm gonna calculate my value. I have taken closing provision for doubtful debt. I'm going to take opening provision for doubtful debt. Okay, and I'm going to deduct closing provision for doubtful debt. So opening provision for doubtful debt was 900. They are given in the question. Here you can see it, guys, 900, and here I'm going to deduct 1,284. So which means it is going to give a minus value of 384, which means it is under provision. So under provision should be taken under. It should be considered as an expense on income statement, which means income statement should become debit, provision for doubtful debt account should become credit, which is the answer is A, because that is the only answer which is giving the correct value. When I go up, the answer is going up and down. Okay, so I'll fix it. So actually the answer is A. They have given income statement debit and provision for doubtful debt account credit. So I have found this, and please do the calculation as necessary. This provision for doubtful debt is tested every year. It can be even tested in your paper 2. If they ask paper 2, you will get 4 or 6 marks on exam. So don't miss it. It's a very easy area to score better. So let's move on to 19 adjustment, erasing these calculations. Nirmal sells 2 products, product G and product H. The following information is available about his inventory at the end of the financial year. You have product G and product H. Number of units you have made 1,800. Cost per unit is $2 and 1.50. Net realizable value per unit is 2.50 or 1.20. It was found that 100 units of product G were damaged and were unsaleable. What was the total value of Nirma's inventory? Remember guys, when you're doing this sum, you need to know one thing, that when you're calculating inventory valuation, you take the lowest from the cost price per unit or net realizable value per unit. Then you will be able to find out the actual inventory valuation cost. Now here I'm going to take the lower cost here. When I compare my cost per unit and net realizable value, I can take 2 as the lowest cost, and when I take 1.5 and 1.2, I'll take 1.2 as the lowest cost. Now what I'm going to do, easy, I'm going to multiply this, but before multiplying this, I just want to know that there was 100 units of product G were damaged, so actually I have 900 units, and I will multiply to the lower cost, which I will get 1800 on the first G. So product G I'm getting 1800. Then in the product H I'm getting 800 into 1.20. So 800 into 1.20 will give me a value of 960. So if I add my total 960 plus 1800, what is my actual Nirma? I mean, what is Nirma's inventory's value? It will become 2760, which is giving an answer of, what is the answer? Answer is A. So you need to know, this is the way you calculate your inventory guys. This is an easy way to understand how inventory works. Again, you don't want to buy hard so much into this. It's just this adjustment, knowing this will help you to score better in exam. So let's move on to the next part, erasing this. We have 20th adjustment guys. It says that, yeah, it's an easy one I think. What is not a service business? Very straightforward. Hairdressing salon is a service business because they provide a service, they cut hair. Accountants practice, they do accounting, manual work as well as automation work still, but it's not it is a service business because they give some sort of guidance. Computer repair shop, again they maintain the computer, they repair it, again manual, or sometimes it's not a product oriented business because it is all about knowledge. Supermarket, it's something else. Supermarket is not a service business because it sells products, so it's a product oriented business. Answer is C. So let's move on to 21 adjustment now. Okay, so moving on to 21st MCQ, the financial year of Peter ends on 30th September. On 1st August 2020, Peter received rent 1000. This covered the period of 1st July to November 2020. Now, if you see here, when as I said, when you are doing this sum, you need to underline these guys. His period ends on 30th September, but he is getting an amount of 1000 on 1st August, and it has covered the period of 1st July to 30th November 2020. So 30th September, if the amount is ending, he is receiving more than that particular month, because 1st July is 1 month, August is 2 months, and September is 3 months. So only 3 months value should be accounted, but actually they have taken October and November, which is 5 months. So when I divide this 1000 by 5, 1000 is the amount, so I am dividing it by 5 months, so I will get actually a value of 200 per month. So which is accountable to the books of account is 200 into 3 months, which is July, August and September. So this is only what should come to the books, which means they have paid for 2 more months extra, and this payment is known as prepayments. Okay, so this is known as what payment guys? Prepayments. Now this prepayments, you need to understand, now this is a prepayment which has been made and Peter has received it, and they're asking what will be the entry in Peter's statement of financial position. If you have received an income, it is a prepaid income. If it is a prepaid expense, you should deduct from the income statement. If it is a prepaid income, you should be considering as an income which you receive in future. So it becomes a current liability, and you should know this guys. Current liability. How much is the value here they have given? It is 400. Current liability 400. So I hope you guys understood this answer. Let's move on to the second part of this question. Well, let's move on to 22nd MCQ. I'll raise it, guys. In addition to share of profit, a partner receives interest on capital, a salary, and a charge interest on drawing. How are these recorded in ledger accounts of the partner? You need to know there are two types of accounts in partnership. Current account as well as capital account, both considered under capital. So in current account, normally you need to know these things. There are a few things you need to know in current account: capital side, credit side what will come, and current account debit side what will come. Interest on capital, share on profit, salary, and also brought forward balances sometimes will come on the credit side. interest on drawings, and drawings will always come on the debit side. So that's straightforward. You need to know this, guys. The format. Again, in future, I will be uploading a video on partnership. You will be able to understand how partnership, current account, and capital account work. So you need to remember interest on capital, salary, profit share ratio. These things will be considered on the credit side of the current account. Here they are given interest on capital and salary. So these both are credit side of current account. Interest on drawings is always the debit side of current account. So answer for this is C, which is credit current account, debit current account. Then we move on to the 23rd one. A sports club provided the following information. What was the total income for the year? So did they ask profit or total income? Again, you need to be very concerned about what they're asking, because if they ask total income, they're not asking the total profit. Some people, what they do, they take the all the income, they deduct all the expenses, and they find the profit. But unfortunately, they end up wrong. So you need to understand, you take the income only, which means subscription for there is an income, and profit for sale is an income. Depreciation is not an income, so it is an expense. Rent and insurance is an expense, and also wages is an expense. So what is income? 26,800 plus 4,200 will give you a value of 26,800 plus 4,200 will give you a value of 31,000. So this answer for this will become D. So I have given you an idea about 23rd one. Let's move on to 24th. Yeah. So what is 24th? I'll erase this. It's a good question, I think. A club was formed on 1st July 2019. This year ended 30th June 2020. Subscription received from members total 2,500. The total, this included 120 paid in advance for the next financial year. Subscription outstanding on 30th June 2020 amounted to 280. How much was recorded for subscription in the income and expenditure account for the year ended 30th June 2020? Let me move on to Excel sheet, guys, to explain this. Yeah. I'll open up a T column to teach you how this subscription work. As you all know, I have already explained this in May-June paper, but I'll explain again, guys, for your information how subscription account works. Here I'll write here subscription, right, account. Subscription account. Normally, guys, you need to understand subscription account is an income account. So there will be two things in an income account. One is income prepaid, other one is income accrued. So normally a brought forward balance on the debit side is representing income accrued. That's what you need to know when you're doing this sum. So let me write here. This is income accrued. Or we say it as income outstanding. Another term we can use, income outstanding. So this you can write it down if you want, it will be helpful for you. Then on the other side, okay, on the credit side, brought forward, there's another brought forward. For that we say it as, in brackets I can say income prepaid or advance income, or we can say advance. Okay, so we are done with that. So normally this is the brought forward balances. This is the format you should know when you're doing a subscription account. Whatever subscription you are receiving, it should be on the credit side because it's an income. When you receive an income, it should be credit side, and the relevant account should become debit side. So here normally you receive receipt and payment. So I'll put R and P. So receipt and payment will become how much they are given on the sum. On the sum they have said the year ended 30th June 2020, subscription received from members total 2,500. So they have said that you have received a subscription of 2,500, so I'll record here 2,500. Then the question says that they didn't end up with that point. This included 120 paid in advance for the next financial year, but they are speaking on 30th June, which means after 1 year, the ending balances. So these are also ending balances. 120 for next year. So this is prepayments. 120 they paid for next year, and this is a carried down balance. They are not spoken on brought forward. If they are spoken on brought forward, it should be on 1st July 2019. But unfortunately, I speak on 30th June 2020. And subscription outstanding on 30th June 2020 was 280. So I'm moving on to the Excel sheet. So outstanding I will represent on this side, guys, carry it down in both sides. So here it's outstanding brought forward in this side means it will be parallel. The, the outstanding carry down will come here. So now actually outstanding carried down, what is the value they have given? I think it was 280 if I'm not mistaken. So 280 was the amount outstanding, and what is the prepaid amount? Let me underline both. 120. So 120. This is prepayment because bought forward is on the credit side. So carry down should come on the credit side, debit side. So 120, and here it will become 280. So I'm going to put a ledger account. So here it should be debited because it's subscription. Generally you can send it for credit side of the income and expenditure account. So how much is the value actually? I'll make a ledger account. I'll put two layers to get the total. So 2500 plus 280 will give me a value of 2780. I'm going to deduct 120 among that. So 2780 minus 120 will give me 2660. Let me move on to the answer sheet and find do I have an answer on that. So answer is C, 2660. Remember guys, when you're doing subscription sum, don't worry, it's an income account, so there should be accrued income and prepaid income. Accrued income brought forward, which side it will come. Accrued income carried out, which side it will come. Prepaid income brought forward, where it will come. Prepaid income carried out, where it will come. Knowing this is more than enough for you to score in the paper. So let's move on to 25th adjustment now. Anthony does not keep a full set of accounting records. He knows his opening and closing cash balances and wishes to calculate his cash sales. Which item does Anthony not need in order to calculate his cash sales? So what is the thing in these four adjustments? What is not related to Anthony? Let's start with first one: cash bank, cash discount, cash drawings, cash expenses. Cash bank is very important for you to know to calculate his sales. Cash drawings is also important because he need to know how much money he has taken. Cash expenses is the amount he has spent. So what is not relevant? Cash discount, guys. Because cash discount is a discount you are allowing, so it will not affect the cash sales. Actually, it will not affect to the level like cash drawings and cash expense and cash bank will affect. So that's straightforward. We'll move on to 26. So 25th answer is B. A trader has not maintained a full set of accounting records. How can she calculate the credit sales for the year? As I said, you guys, when you are doing this adjustment, you need to know trade receivables account because they are speaking about credit customers. So knowing sales ledger control account is very important. Let me move on to Excel sheet and explain you. I'll copy this same sheet, guys, so it's easy for me to calculate to teach you. Okay. So normally know the format when you are doing adjustment. I'll erase this off. Here you have trade receivable. Okay, or we can say it as sales control account. So trade receivables and sales control account. Normally you will have brought forward on the debit side. Then you will have sales, interest charged. Then you have checks dishonored, or you can say dishonored checks. On the credit side, you will have cash they would have paid, bank they would have paid. They will you will give discount for them, so it will become discount allowed, and you will they will return the products, so return inward will be there, and they will also what to say, return inward will be there, discount allowed, cash bank. They will also not give the money on time, so bad. So these are the adjustments you need to know. Now see here, on the credit side I have taken cash bank, and also you will have carried down, right? Sometimes you will have even on the debit side, but most of the time it will be on the credit side. Now if I'm taking these values, let me take here. Okay. So I'll zoom out a bit So you'll have a clear view on what I'm doing. This is a basic, basic thing you need to know when you're doing trade receivables. This is the chart which I have given. This can be tested in your exams. Okay, so here you see brought forward sales, interest charge, discount check. In MCQ like that, if you see debit side balances all together, add them. You see the credit side balances all together, add them. But if you see credit sides a lot and debit side less, debit side deduct it, credit side all add it. If you see the debit side high and credit side less, add the debit side, deduct the credit side. That's how it should be. Now let's move on to the question and see how they have done this sum actually. So you'll have an idea. A trader has not maintained a full set of accounting records. How can she calculate the credit sales for the year? Receipt from credit customer plus closing trade receivables minus discount allowed minus opening trade receivable. Receipt from credit customers means it can be cash or bank plus closing trade receivable is correct, but discount allowed also was on the credit side, which means it should be also added. So opening capital is on the debit side, which means it should be deducted. So here I can move on to the question where I have plus, all plus I should see. I have this plus on the fourth one, receipt from credit customers plus closing trade receivables plus discount allowed minus opening trade receivables. So the answer is straightforwardly here, because credit side answers we add together and the debit side answer we deducted on this sum on 26. So answer 26 is D. Let's move on to the next part, 27. A trader made the following forecast for the business for the next financial year. Average inventory is 80,000. Rate of inventory turnover is 6 times. Markup is 25%. What are the forecast sales for the next financial year? When you're writing a formula for inventory turnover ratio, let me explain you this formula. Then you will be able to find out how much is the actual sales they are going to target. I'm going to take my formula. What is the formula? Inventory turnover is equal, how do we find the inventory turnover, guys? Inventory turnover is equal cost of sales divided by average inventory. Okay, so this is the formula. Knowing formula is also very important when you're doing calculation, guys. This is not Edexcel exams to give the calculations and to give the formulas. In Edexcel exams they used to give the formulas, but in Cambridge they don't. They want you to think and do it. Okay, that's the reason Cambridge is a bit tougher than Edexcel. So cost of sales you don't know, but you know average inventory. So what you do is you bring your inventory turnover, which is 80,000, I mean 6 times, and multiply it into average inventory, which is 80,000. So you will get your COS, okay, cost of sales. 6 into 80,000 will give you how much? 480,000 is your cost of sales. Now from cost of sales, you are going to keep a markup 25%. Easy. Now you have to identify your sales. You always need to keep the markup is related to cost of sales. Margin is related to gross profit or sales. Here they are not spoken about margin. They are speaking about markup. So what I will do, I'll take 480,000, multiply it by 1.25. Why it is 1.25? I need to take 1 as a base indicator and add the 25%. So if I take 25 over 100, if I divide and take, it's 0.25. That's why I have added 1 plus 0.25. So 480,000 into 1.25 will give me a value of 600,000. So my answer for this is going to be D. I hope you understood this, guys. Again, when you have time, just revise it. It will be helpful for your exam. So let's move on to the next part. Let's erase this, then we'll move on to the next part, guys. Yeah. 28. A company provides the following information about its current ratio. Year 1 they have taken 2.3 is to 1, 2.4 is to 1, 2.5 is to 1. What would explain these changes in this ratio? Let me explain you the basic formula. Current ratio has a formula, guys. So current ratio is equal current asset divided by what, guys? Current liabilities. Okay, so I'll ask you one thing. If you want to increase your current asset CR, what you should do? You should increase your, I'll put increase as I. increase current assets, or what do you say, or decrease current liabilities. These are the ways you can increase your current ratio. Or if you want to decrease your current ratio, what you can do, guys, you can decrease your current assets, or you can increase your current liabilities. So this is the way you need to understand how you can impact the total ratio. Now here they are asking what would explain the changes in the ratio. Inventory is decreasing. So if inventory is decreasing, guys, current asset is decreasing, so the CR ratio should decrease, which is not happening. The CR ratio is increasing year by year. Other payables are increasing. If current liability increases, current ratio will decrease. Again, it's increasing. Other receivables are increasing. So if receivables means, it is a current asset, so a current asset is increasing, it will increase CR. So answer is C. Very straightforward answer. Trade receivables are decreasing. If current assets decrease, it will decrease the current ratio. So we have done until 28. So let's move on to the next part, 29. Well, let's move on to 29. Trader wants to improve his gross margin. How can this be done? If you want to increase your gross profit, you need to see either to increase your selling price or decrease your cost of sales. Here, administrative expense is an expense. If you reduce it, it's not going to affect your gross profit. Reduce depreciation of equipment, that's also a part of expenses, not above gross profit. Above gross profit, only sales and cost of sales are there. And third thing is reduce rate of cash discount allowed. So cash discount allowed is also part of discount allowed. So it is coming under expenses. So that will also not affect. But reduce rate of trade discount. Why is that it is affecting? Because when you are making a sale or cost of sales will affect the gross profit margin. So when you are decreasing the sales by giving a discount, that will eventually reduce the level of gross profit on the business. So answer D is the answer for 29. So I hope you guys understood 29 is D. Misha provided the following information for the first year of trading. Sale 1000 units at 10 each 10,000. Cost of sales is 1000 units 4.5 4,500. Gross profit 5,500. In the second year of trading, Misha reduced the selling price and sold 1,500 units. Again, mark how many units he has sold. 1,500. Here he sold 1,000 units. Her gross profit decreased by 250. There was no change in cost per unit. What was the total value of sales in the second year of trading? So I'll explain, I'll easily find it, guys. So I'll write here my actual value. Gross profit has decreased by 250. You see here, I didn't underline that. So okay, here how much did I write? I'm sorry, I'll mark it again, guys. Small mistake. 1,000 units, 1,500 units, 250, and the total value of sales. Now actually I'm gonna find the actual value of total value of sales. Here I have I'm going to reduce my first of all gross profit. 5,500 it was, now it has decreased by 250, which means I'm going to deduct 250, which way I'll get my gross profit as 5,250. As you all know, I need to find my sales. Earlier it was 1,000 units, now it's 1,500 units they are given, and I need to get my COS. They said cost of sales, Misha reduced the selling price, her gross profit decreased, there was no change in cost per unit. So I can find out cost per unit 150,500 into per unit was 4.5. So I should be able to find out 4.5 into 1,500. Then I have a value of how much I have value, I don't know, my gross profit I have already found 5,250. Now I need to find out this value. Sales 1,500 into 10. I don't know actually how much they sold for. They have reduced the price, so I don't know. 1,500 into 4.5 is how much? It's going to be how much going to be? It's going to be 6,750. Then 1,500. Now how do I find this, guys? Easy. Now see here what I'm going to do. I'm going to add this 5,250 along with cost of sales, then I'll be able to find the actual number of sales they have done. So 5250 plus GP plus CS will give you COS will give you sales. Right guys, so GP was 5250, cost of sales was 6750. The sales is now how much? 12,000. So answer is C here. It's very easy guys. You need to think a bit when you're doing this sum, then you can score a better mark on your paper. If you don't understand, please comment under comment section so I can help you. So let's move on to the next part guys. I'll erase these workings first. Yeah, I erased it. Then let's move on to the next part. AB Limited and CD Limited both started business on 1st January 2009 with an ordinary share capital of 100,000. Neither company had any debentures or loans. Both companies had the same profit in 2019. Only AB Limited paid a dividend. The return on capital employed was calculated using closing capital employed. So now you need to understand when you are finding the ROCE, return on capital employed, the formula is net profit before tax divided by the capital employed. Capital employed is also taken as how you can say net profit before tax. This is the formula. This is for your knowledge. Divided by what? Capital employed. Capital employed also has a formula, guys. What is the formula? You all know already, I think. So let me give you for your knowledge. Capital employed is equal capital plus non-current liability. So this is what this is how you find the formula. So first of all, you need to get the net profit, then divide by capital employed. To divide by capital employed, you should take capital and with non-current liability. Now here, what the company is doing, AB is paying a dividend, whereas CD Limited is not paying a dividend. What would happen to AB Limited when comparing the ROC? That's the question. So here they have asked, if you see, which statement about AB's limited ROC is correct when compared to that CD Limited? It is high because the dividend reduced retained earnings. Why they are saying that it is high? Because the dividend reduced retained earnings. If you are paying the dividend on time, shareholders will be happy. So you can't save more. That will increase the level of ROC. How come? If you don't save more, your capital will decrease. If your capital decrease, what would happen? The overall ratio will increase. As net profit, if this side is decreasing, this side will actually increase. So actually it will increase the ROC completely. It is low because the dividend reduced capital employed. If capital employed is reduced, now they are saying dividend cannot reduce capital employed, dividend only can reduce retained earnings. So it's wrong. It is low because dividend reduces the profit for the year. Again, profit before interest and tax. So it will not measure that dividend. So it's wrong. It is the same as that of CD Limited. So it's not correct answer because we have already found the answer. It is high because the dividend reduced retained earnings. So moving on to the second one, guys. Which interested party uses the financial statements of a business to assess current performance and plan for future activities? Banks, they don't plan your future activities. Employees, they don't plan future activities. Government, they don't do that yet. So it's very straightforward. Managers are the people who are very interested in financial statement. They prepare financial statement and they assess the current performance and they always plan for future activities. That's very straightforward one, guys. The special skills of the employees are not recorded in the financial statement of a business which accounting principle is being applied. So the skills is not valued through money. So whichever you can't value through money, we say it as money measurement concept. So answer is C. But what is historic concept? You are bringing an asset long time back every year with the same cost, then of course we say that historic cost. Maybe you purchased the motor vehicle 5 years back, you are bringing the same motor vehicle every year with the same cost, we say that as historic cost. Materiality means you will not take small values as non-current asset like staplers, like small values, we will be considering it as an expense. Realization is where when you make a sale, only if the customer pays for it, you can consider it as a sale. Without customer paying for the good, you can't consider it as a sale. So here answer is number 3, C, money measurement. Let's move on to the next part. How can a business comply with the accounting principle of prudence? Prudence says that you should not overestimate the assets, underestimate the expenses. Here, you should not overestimate the assets. Now, here they are given losses. You should not underestimate your losses, because if you underestimate your losses, your what do you say, your profit will increase, your profit will decrease in a business. They will do that to show to show inaccurate value for the shareholders. That's not good. So let's move on. So here the concept prudence is saying that you should not overestimate your assets and underestimate your expenses, which is B is the answer, very straightforward one. Know the terms, guys. It's very important when you're scoring. What is not an aim of international accounting standards? So you should not see what is their aim, what is not an aim. To ensure accounting standards in different countries agree. So this is a basic thing international accounting standard does, to establish an organization to set standards in every country. So this is not their main aim, because they don't want to set organization in every country and fight for the standards and to make up a policy and to ensure that the policy should be followed by everyone. That's not their main aim at all. In establishing an organization is not their aim. One organization controlling the whole world is what their main target. To make it easier to compare companies' financial statements as their target, to reduce the variety of accounting practices worldwide. So this is also a part of their aim. So because they want to reduce the level of people learning the variety of accounting, because accounting should be one specific way. So they want everyone to follow that particular way, so it will be easy for them to coordinate. So guys, I have given you a good explanation from first MCQ to 35th MCQ. Giving you a clear explanation will always help you to score better in exams. If you do not understand certain answers, review it and learn it again and again. May June 2020 paper I have updated. To study with me more in future, what you need to do is, please do not forget to subscribe my channel, guys, because it will always help you and also me in growing. Remember, guys, this channel was started initially with a small effort. Today it is growing because it's because of you guys. Thank you for your love and support. Please do not forget to comment on the comment section, and please do not forget to share these classes for your friends, because this is completely free for anyone who can study it freely under Commerce with Max. See you guys on the next video. Have a nice day. Bye.